Right then, let's talk about Alejandro Garnacho. Manchester United have had one hell of a prospect on our hands, on the verges of breaking into the first team. Pretty much all of this season, really. For most people, Garnacho sort of came to the fore with his involvement in the successful FA Youth Cup campaign towards the back end of last season. He was then taken on tour where he didn't feature, where he was also a little bit of a naughty boy. But he's recently started to force his way into Erik ten Hag's team, seemingly in front of Anthony Elanga. Now, he's got flair, he's got confidence, he's got pace, he's got skill, he's got ego. And honestly, I want that from our wingers. I don't want wingers that are, bead-wearing hippies. I want them to be ruthless killers. That's what being a winger is all about. We signed him from Atletico Madrid in October 2020, and he immediately impressed. Absolutely tore it up, like we said in the Youth Cup last year. He got 7 goals and 3 assists in just 6 games. Massive part of why Manchester United went on to win the thing. His excitement and his cockiness made everybody take notice, because those are the traits that you kind of need to make it, certainly as a forward player. His Sue celebration in the Youth Cup final was brilliant in front of a packed Old Trafford. Those are the sorts of things that the young kids that were populating the crowd are gonna remember. And from that moment, really, it's been waiting game to see him get moments in the first team. And we've had so many exciting young prospects come through the club in recent years, but Garnacho is different. There's a lot that reminds me of Cristiano Ronaldo in the way he comes through. He's probably more direct than Ronaldo was. Someone compared him to Kanchelskis the other day, and I know a lot of the people watching this are probably a little bit too young, but that might be a bit accurate. Andre Kanchelskis was like, get the ball and see ya, and all he wanted to do was move it up the pitch. And he was skillful and he had flair. But the big thing that you say about him, like, what does he do? He runs at defenders. He just tries to get in the box. That was what Kanchelskis was sensational at. And yes, he reminds me of Ronaldo, but early Ronaldo, maybe middle Ronaldo, but early Ronaldo was too much about doing step-overs, too much about beating this guy 2-3 times rather than just getting the ball in the box. There's a directness to Garnacho, which I like, and I think it's what sets him apart. Now, last week we saw him get his first ever goal for United against Real Sociedad, and Bruno talked about how Garnacho's attitude wasn't great at the start of the season, perhaps being one of the reasons why we've seen a delayed introduction. Now, I've just been asking for give him 5 and 10 minutes because some of these lads need to come off, and I think there's a goal threat in him. The fact that he's been starting in back-to-back games, a little bit unexpected, but perhaps he was as ready as we thought he was, and perhaps Ten Hag has gone, this kid has got talent. But Bruno's let a little bit out of the bag there by suggesting that his attitude towards training, etc., wasn't quite perfect. Now, United need to keep Garnacho grounded because he could be the next world-class talent. I think he's got the potential to be that good. But United have had countless potential world-class players that, for whatever reason, that they didn't get the minutes, they got injuries. There's been so many nearly world-class players at the football club, from even those that are still there now, with Tuan Zebe, with Angel Gomez, with Fosu Mensah. The jury's still potentially out on Marcus Rashford, whether he can hit that true world-class kind of status. You need a lot of things to go right, but the biggest thing is attitude and work rate. You can't really get away with bluffing your way through in football at the moment. And the best thing about Garnacho is I think he's at the right club, probably with the right manager at the right time. You need that look on your side to become a world beater. Ronaldo joined young and he was raw and he left United as the best player in the world. I have no idea about whether or not Garnacho's got a long-term vision to end up playing for Madrid. Maybe he has, maybe he doesn't. He seems to have grown up idolising Cristiano Ronaldo. Maybe there's a chance he stays at Manchester United. Who knows? But like Sir Alex, Ten Hag has consistently brought youngsters into his first team and made huge successes with them. De Ligt and De Jong, probably the two standouts that Ten Hag has had so far. And he hadn't shown that. That was one of the 5 things that we wanted to see him do this season, which was trusting the youth. And Garnacho was one of those that we were thinking of when we said, like, let's see what he can do. And we're seeing what he can do. And as hard as it is to admit, United are probably going to be relying more and more on our academy than ever before, this season especially, because of the inconsistent nature or overspending on some players and underspending on others and lack of planning for the future. United are left with a weight of deadwood and a weight of a lot of players that are unsuited to play for Manchester United's first team. And some people that are in that category might actually be academy products. But there are some good prospects coming through the academy. And for me, I don't think it's a drama to try the academy players, because if they're good, well, sweet, we've just saved ourselves having to try and find a player to sign. And if they're not good enough, well, you find out and you can move them on and concentrate on the ones that might be. Because an entire squad of under-18s is never going to make it. If you get one through, that's probably outperforming every other club in the world if you brought one academy player through every single year. So the chances are low for the academy players, but just give them a chance. Some of the best Manchester United sides were propped up by academy players that went on to play hundreds of games for the football club, just filling in. The likes of Phil Neville, the likes of John O'Shea, the likes of Nicky Butt, Wes Brown, probably at a period where they might have been first choice. But for the majority of their career, there was players that came off the bench and filled in for whoever was the starting guy. They give that guy a night off. And that's what an academy should be utilised for. You can have your superstars, probably one, potentially a Garnacho. But if the likes of Mengi come in and be like third or fourth choice centre-half, fantastic. If the likes of Zidane Iqbal come in and be your Phil Neville, Nicky Butt characters that go on and win 5 or 6 titles, fantastic. That's exactly the sort of thing that you want to see happen. And of course you would want them to be the world-class player themselves, but being realistic, that's a very, very difficult thing to achieve. But like I said, Garnacho, he's exciting. He's got traits of arrogance, flair, directness, and he does have the potential to make it to the top. I didn't think it was his best game against Villa, but I think it was a collective shitting of the bed from Manchester United. So we need to look at how he can potentially fit in to this squad. Now, given that he's a dynamic attacker, but at his age, you're not expecting him to start 50 games for United this season. You'd expect to see him break into the United team, definitely as a wide player, even if he doesn't end up there. Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, Greenwood, every single one of them started out playing in wide areas. It's a little bit less going on. You can kind of focus on just trying to beat one man rather than you have 2 or 3 different people trying to get into you. And realistically, Garnacho is up against Sancho, who's out of form at the moment. And even if he's only being used as a tool to take Sancho out of the firing line, fix him up and then send him back in the fray, Garnacho could go and make himself more valuable to the team just by putting in good performances. Because then we've seen this with Luke Shaw time and time again. Someone gets signed, they're going to take his place. Actually, Luke Shaw just keeps his place because he started working hard and he started playing to a good level again. Now, you might think, all right, yeah, it's Sancho's position. We're just going to give Garnacho 4 or 5 games. If Garnacho performs, if he's scoring, creating chances, assisting, he will keep that place. I firmly believe Erik ten Hag is the kind of manager that's going to just reward whoever's playing well and not give a shit about your reputation and your salary. Longer term, he's probably got Marcus in his way. Although I think at the moment, Marcus is definitely being lined up, probably in the short term, to replace Ronaldo down the middle. I don't think he's going to feature too heavily on the right. I think that's Antony's spot. He's probably got Garnacho. He's probably got Elanga in that line as well. But as I said earlier, I think he's already overtaken Elanga by the fact that he's been given starts that Elanga hasn't. And it's going to be very interesting to see what United do. I'm not sure they'll sign another winger. I think if we do go and sign a striker, it will be a out-and-out number 9 striker, probably a more target man sort of build of a player. But with injuries, with form, with Marcus seemingly playing 9 or 10 sometimes, he's going to get minutes. Whether that's 10 minutes at the end of a game or whether that starts the way he did and perform the way he did against Sociedad, he's going to be getting involved more and more frequently. The fact that he's been basically on the bench since the start of the season tells you that he's been in his mind. And now he's obviously doing the things in training that he wants him to, and the circumstances are right for getting him starts. His skill, his pace, his quick turns, the flair. He's a little bit unique in terms of what he brings to the squad. There's not really anyone who dribbles at players the way he does. And his finishing's brilliant. And again, confidence is something that young players tend to always bring into the team. And he's still young. So it's important to remember that the kid is literally only 18. He was only playing in the Youth Cup last year, and now he's playing Premier League football. So I would like to see him slowly embedded. We did this with Ronaldo back when he joined in 2003, 2004. He was starting games, but there was a tentative nature to how he was starting games. Greenwood's been one of the best integrated plans I've seen for someone transitioning from being an academy prospect to being a first-team player. I don't think anyone's been brought into the team like that. I think it's been very impressive what's been done with Greenwood bringing it into the team like that. It was definitely done to a system and to a plan. And maybe Garnacho can be the same. And there is always a chance that Rashford, Sancho, Antony, they all kick on and it becomes almost impossible for him to get first-team minutes. If that's the case, I could see him going on loan, probably to Spain, potentially to a Premier League team. But if that happens, I wouldn't worry, because Ronaldo, Rashford, Greenwood, none of them went on loan. And it doesn't mean that Garnacho can't either. And it's happened to plenty of stars who have. Even David Beckham went on loan to Preston. It's everyone's development is unique to them, and you need a little bit of luck, but you have to take your opportunity and take your chance when it comes. And I would say right now, Garnacho is taking his chance. There's things that Ten Hag's going to want to see improved in his game, but I think it'll come. Now, the worry for me is when a player comes in and has a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of an ego, there can be a worry if it starts going west. That thing's generally a positive when things are going well. If they're playing and they're scoring, that'll keep it in check. I think that can become a toxic trait when things aren't going quite right. Zlatan's ego was never a problem when he's scoring. It's a problem when he's getting moved around in the team for Lionel Messi and stuff like that. And egos can lead to players cocking it up. But it can also make players the greatest ever. Messi's got an ego. Ronaldo's got an ego. I would argue even players that you think are shit have probably got a massive ego. Sir Alex happened to be the perfect man to guide Ronaldo to stardom. And we've seen Ten Hag do well with a couple of young stars already at Ajax. It's a different sort of pressure doing it at Manchester United in the Premier League. But I hope the handling that is shown of him, Garnacho seems to have responded well to. Even Ronaldo seems to have responded well to Ten Hag. So he's showing that he's the boss. Let's see if he can guide them into the right sort of manner. He's a lucky boy. He's playing his club football with one of the greatest of all time, and he's playing his international football with another of the greatest of all time in Lionel Messi. Bruno's talked about how his attitude at the start of the season wasn't great. Well, I think that probably has changed. Otherwise, I don't think Bruno talks about it. But let's hope that the desire and work ethic Ronaldo had at his age rubs off. But this is a kid that has it all. His ability is exciting, and I think he's got the character to be able to take it to the next level. Let's see where he goes. Let me know in the comments. Do you expect him to be starting many more games, or do you just think it's while Sancho and others are out? I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.